Are you ready for the final full moon of 2025? It is a supermoon, the last of 3 supermoons. It is the cold moon, and it is in the sign of Gemini, and we're going to talk about it. Hi, my name is Natasha, also known as Nurse Natasha. If you're new here, welcome. If you're old here, welcome back. This is your tarot reading and your what you need to know for the full moon in Gemini. This is coming up on December 4th, and this is our last full moon of the year. It is also the last in 3 supermoons, so the past 2 full moons have also been supermoons. This is the last one in that series. This is like a wrap it up completion moment. We're going to talk about it astrologically, and then we're also going to get into the cards. We already have the moon lurking at the bottom of the deck, by the way. This is the Horror Tarot. Really amazing deck. Look at that right there. Werewolf, werewolf energy. But yeah, this is our last full moon of the year. I can't believe it's December 1st on the day that I'm filming this, and I'm like, what just happened? What just happened with this year? But I'm very excited for this full moon. I love the full moon in Gemini. The cold moon at the end of the year, I find that I have some of my biggest epiphanies, my biggest realizations, my biggest releases, and that's what full moons are all about, is about releasing. We just had this very intense Scorpio season. We had 5 planets in retrograde. We had 6 planets in water signs. We had a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, wavering between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Mercury is currently still in Scorpio, and that was kind of like the revelation of the shadow. It was kind of like bringing all the shadowy bits, everything you've repressed, everything that, the deep dark inside, brought it to the surface and maybe made you face it and confront it. And then now this is the integration of the shadow. Gemini is about duality. Gemini is the twins, right? It's light and dark. There has to be balance. And we're really going to talk about something that has been kind of coming up for me for this full moon in Gemini is the hero's journey. If you don't know the hero's journey, it's a literary trope style. I don't know what the right term is, but we all know a hero. Luke Skywalker, Frodo, Harry Potter, whatever. They all go through this same journey. It's also the journey of the tarot. The tarot is the fool's journey, the hero's journey. It starts with the fool and it ends with the world. And it is going through the same cycle as the hero's journey. And this full moon in Gemini is the last part of the hero's journey, which is the unification, the master of both worlds. He's already gone through he's gone into, the upside down. If you're a fan of Stranger Things, I've been watching the new season. We're going to also talk about that a little bit, because if you've seen the new season, the last 5 minutes of the last episode of part 1 is very much what we're talking about right now. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's that hero's journey, right? Master of both worlds, master of the upside down. Like, the hero has gone all the way through the journey, has gone into the unknown, has faced trials and tribulations, has had the big blowout, has come all the way around, almost again to the starting point. We're at that last point. That is what this full moon in Gemini is. And this is a 9 year, right? 2025 is a 9 year. 2 + 2 + 5 is 9. And it is completions. It is the end of the journey. It is, what did I write? I wrote final completions, the final chapter. It is the end, and you have to wrap things up. And that's what we're doing. It is kind of the world energy. It's the journey ending before it begins again, and it will begin again in 2026. But yeah, and Gemini is a very intelligent side. It's an air sign. It is kind of our sign of intelligence and curiosity and communication. And then the opposite, the sun is in Sagittarius. Again, it is a very fun, flirty, exciting vibe. But on the flip side, again, remember duality. Gemini in the tarot is the lovers. But did you know that the exact reverse image of the lovers is the devil? Duality. You have to have both. You have to have the light and the love, and you also have the shadow and the dark. That's just how it is. And every person, yes, you, even you, all of us have a shadow. It's not bad. It's not evil. It's just a part of us. And this is the integration of that. This is okay, all this stuff maybe came up during Scorpio season. Maybe this year we had so many endings and karmic cycles ending, and just you might have noticed that you are not the same person as when you started this year, and your whole life might have changed, or really big cycles ended. I'm sorry, I have a cat hair that's on my nose and it won't go away, so if I keep messing with my nose, that's why. I'm living with 2 cats now, so it's an adjustment. But it's this, it is the end. It is the end so we can begin again. And we have to be able to integrate our shadow into the daily, all the things that we have, don't mind Jack, all the things that we have learned this year, the things we've lost, the things we've gained, the cycles that have ended, the cycles that have begun. We have to be able to integrate it all. And it's also really about, what do you want to release before we move into the new year? What do you not want to carry with you into 2026? Because there's a lot of things, I'm sure, and that is also mastery. The devil, the tarot card, people really get afraid of because, it's the devil, ooh, it's scary. And, it can be the shadow and the toxic things for sure, but it is also mastery of those things. And that's what we need to do under this full moon in Gemini. Again, air energy, Gemini is the twins. Yeah, that's pretty, this will be a great full moon for reflection. We just had that really big Mercury retrograde. Highly recommend journaling under this full moon. That is what I will be doing. I'll be doing so much writing, so much journaling, very Gemini energy. Write down like what has to go, get deep, let yourself just like brain dump, like get curious, practice non-judgment, non-attachment, just let the thoughts come up and like get them out. And if you're interested, I will have a workshop here for my members on YouTube. If you just hit the join button, you can join my membership. We'll do a live workshop for this full moon, lots of journaling prompts, all that good stuff. All right. That's pretty much all I want to say. I'm going to keep talking about it as we go through the tarot and see what comes up, but that is the full super moon in Gemini, the cold moon, our last full moon of 2025. Let's get into it. All right. What do we need to know? Yeah, look up the hero's journey if you've never heard that term, or you've you're curious. It's a really interesting concept. I've had a lot of fun kind of like looking into it and researching it for this full moon. No chaos cards, no flipping out cards. All right, we're gonna have to pull the old-fashioned way. The Page of Pentacles, absolutely. On this, it says a manifestation of an abundant harvest, for sure. We love to see it, but the Page of Pentacles is really about being a beginner. And I feel when we close one cycle, we close one chapter, guess what? At the beginning of the new chapter, the beginning of the new cycle, we're a beginner again. The Page of Pentacles is all about allowing yourself to be a student, to be a beginner, to start at the beginning of like the Pentacles kind of court journey, which is like young, maybe not a master of the material world just yet, but just kind of starting out. This is, and again, it's that Gemini energy of intellect. Go read a book on some topic that you like were really interested in. This is the time to do that. If you want to start like a class or something. I've been pulling the Hierophant a lot lately for myself personally. I wonder if that card will come up today, but it's a very like maybe seeking out a teacher or a guide. That's the vibe that this Page of Pentacles is kind of giving me. It's like, because we have kind of graduated, we have ended one cycle, doesn't mean we have mastered everything, right? We can go be a beginner again, and we have to be kind of okay with that. As one cycle ends, another begins, right? Judgment, absolutely. The kind of like the ultimate graduation and judgment. It is Judgment Day. That is what's happening on the Judgment card. And the Judgment card, some people get afraid of because it can be really intense. If you're not ready to graduate, it feels like, but you're ascending, you're graduating to your highest purpose, a better version of you. The Judgment card really reminds me, I like to make pop culture references. If you're new here, the Judgment card reminds me of in Lord of the Rings, when in the Fellowship, Galadriel kind of gets tested by the ring, and she's like, instead of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen, or, that scene used to scare me so much as a kid. But after that whole thing, she goes through this whole like dark side moment, and then she comes out of it and is like, I passed the test. Like, she graduated, she passed that test. That's what Judgment is about. It's also very similar to, we're talking about the hero's journey. Luke Skywalker on Dagobah goes into the forest and he faces Darth Vader, and he cuts off Darth Vader's head, and then it's his face under the mask, right? But he like passes that test. That's kind of what Judgment feels like, which is, I understand why it can feel scary, but you pass the test. Like, let yourself graduate. Stop holding on to the past. Stop holding on to the old versions of you. I know we want to cling to those old versions of ourselves because it's us, you know, and it's much easier to stay in that lower level, or that you know, the thing from the past. It's a lot harder and scarier to graduate and move on to the next level. But again, we can allow ourselves to be a beginner. Don't look at it as scary. Just be like, it's okay, I'm just gonna be a beginner again, right? The High Priestess, trust your intuition. It's such a cool card. She's kind of like a nun, like in this one. Love it. Trust yourself, really, is kind of what I feel like the High Priestess is saying here. She is about trusting your intuition, but that is an act of self-trust. Trust that you have learned the lessons. Trust, again, you passed the test, right? We have judgment. Trust that you did. Sometimes I just got to take a leap. We had the moon at the bottom of the deck when we started this reading, and the moon is very foggy and very like, we don't really know where we're going. We can't really see the path ahead and we're scared. But if you just trust your intuition, put one foot in front of the other, you'll get there. I promise. Yeah, but you know, we're a little, this is kind of how this year has felt, right? 10 of Swords. Look at that. 10 swords in the back. An alarming tale of doom. Yes, indeed. That's kind of what this year has felt like. You know, betrayal, backstabbing, 10 swords in the back. We're burnt out. We're done. We're dead. We're over with. However, the good thing about the 10 of Swords is it's the end. It's the end of that. It's over, right? Because again, after the 10, you know, the 9 kind of closes out the cycle, and then we begin again. And it hurts and it sucks. The 10 of Swords is never a fun card. But it is the end of that suffering. It's kind of like the piece of like, oh, well, these 10 swords are in my back, so at least it's over. At least it's done, you know? And then we're picking up our sword and we're moving on. We got the Knight of Swords here. It says ambition, quick thinking, and drive to succeed. It's like almost like we're kind of getting up from, and it's right underneath the Judgment card. It's like, well, I did pass the test. I might have passed the test with 10 swords in my back, but I passed it, and now I'm getting up and taking off. The Knight of Swords is a very fast energy, very Gemini. The Swords is the suit of air. And the Knight of Swords, I call him like the lightning pony, the lightning knight. He's very fast. Like, it's like we're kind of getting up from all those 10 swords in our back, and we're like, all right, and on to the next thing. You know what I mean? So many swords. Who is this? 8 of Swords. Isolation, abandonment, restriction. Yep, you know what I mean? The 8 of Swords is a self-imposed prison. It is a mental prison of the mind. Again, very Gemini. And that is right beneath the High Priestess. If you're asking yourself, what is holding you back? Hey, it's yourself. It's your limiting belief. It's your belief that you can't do that. It's the self-betrayal, the self-sabotage, the not trusting yourself. Stop doing that. You know, we're getting a little dragged. I kind of expected that. Gemini is a very kind of like draggy sort of energy. Like we're gonna have to, you know, face our own shit if we want to close the cycle and move on to the next. But, you know, I wrote down curiosity in really big letters in my notes. And, you know, if you're feeling a little called out, if you're feeling a little like, oh, dang, it is like a self-imposed prison. It is my own, like, you know, like limiting beliefs and fears holding me back. Just get curious about why that is. Don't judge yourself. Don't, you know, get mad at yourself. Like, just get curious. Be like, oh, why is this here? Why is it? Maybe because I've been hurt in the past? Probably. Is it maybe because, you know, I have fear? Because, you know, and so many reasons. And we have to have grace and compassion for ourselves and just be able to get curious about the reason why we're maybe being held back instead of like judging ourselves for it. You know what I mean? All right, let's pull just a couple more cards. 2 of Cups. That's also very Gemini energy, even though this is a water card. It's a very like fun, flirty, baby card to the lovers sort of energy. Go out and have some fun conversations. That is a very Gemini thing. Also Sagittarius, communication, like getting flirty, having really like witty banter with someone. You know what I mean? The Fool. I kind of felt the Fool was going to come up. Take the step. Take the leap. This is the hero. This is the beginning of the hero's journey. If we're wrapping things up, the only next choice is to start the new journey, right? We're wrapping up the old. We're starting the new. Wheel of Fortune. Yep. Pick a fate. Any fate is what it says at the top. New cycles beginning, cycles ending, and cycles beginning, a change in fortune. But we have to be willing to take the step. We have to be willing to face our judgment, right? We have to be willing to let the judgment day happen. The Fool is right over judgment. Like, the Wheel of Fortune is right over the High Priestess and the Eight of Swords. Like, once you kind of remember that you're that bitch, you know what I mean? Tap into your intuition, start trusting yourself again, take that step forward. That's when the cycle begins again. And I think it's interesting that this Wheel of Fortune says, pick a fate, any fate. It's up to you, your choice, dealer's choice, right? Like, your fate is either the High Priestess, connected with yourself, self-trust, you know, trusting your intuition, or the Eight of Swords, self-sabotage, self-betrayal. Pick a fate, any fate. The wheel will turn depending on what you choose. I'm just having like an epiphany right now. Gemini is also about choice. The Lovers in the tarot, I know we all pull the Lovers and we're like, oh, it's love. Yeah, you know, can be. But the Lovers is also about a choice. And it's like, what are you going to choose? Who are you going to show up as? Are you going to choose to stay behind in the old cycle because you're too afraid to move forward? No, don't do that. Do not do that. Here's the Moon again. Again, this is another horror tarot. This is a different horror tarot. The Moon again, werewolf energy. But again, it's that subconscious, dreamy Pisces energy. It's a card of Pisces. The path ahead might not be clear. It's right next to the Fool here, like with the Moon, and it's like, take the step, even if like you don't know where your foot is gonna land. You might be walking right off a cliff, but guess what? That cliff might actually just be like a really short cliff, and you might take that step and be like, oh, like your foot hits ground. You're like, wait, oh, it just looked, there was just a bunch of fog, and I couldn't see where like the bottom of this like cliff was, but it actually wasn't that bad. Like, the key to the Moon is moving through the fog, one foot in front of the other, moving ahead even if the path is unclear, and be careful of illusions and things like that. We have the Nine of Swords. I know it's stressful. I know we're stressing. There's a Two of Cups again. Who's gonna help? What's gonna help with this anxiety, this scary journey forward when we don't know the way ahead? Is friends, lovers, talking about it, communication. Like, you know, it's again that kind of like flirtatious, but also the Two of Cups again is the baby card to the Lovers. It's reminding me of like, if you saw the new Superman movie where he's like, maybe the punk rock was the friends we made along the way, or some like dumb quote. But that's kind of what it's like. Maybe the lesson was the friends we made along the way on this hero's journey. You know what I mean? And that's how we can kind of move forward, is with that sort of energy. That's a very Gemini energy. All right, we're going to clarify. I got this really cool oracle deck. It's called the Obsidian Veil, and it's a shadow work oracle deck. This was sent to me by Ethereal Tarot. And it's really cool. It's gold, but it is all feminine icons, like historical figures, saints, myths, legends, goddesses, but it's all feminine. And it's a shadow work deck, and I figured, because this is again a very shadow worky sort of full moon, because again Gemini, the shadow, all that jazz, so I figured we would clarify with some shadow work cards. This is my first time using this deck, so let's see what comes up for this full moon in Gemini. Ouch. Remember I said I had curiosity written in like really big letters like on my notes? Eve, like from the Bible. By embracing one's curiosity and through one's choices, destiny is shaped. I can't make this. Did I not just spend the whole reading saying that? Hello. By embracing one's curiosity and through one's choices, destiny is shaped. I told you, you have a choice. I told you to get curious. I don't even have to, don't even look at the guidebook because I just said all that. Thank you. We have Santa Muerte. Through my sacred presence, miracles manifest and hope is born anew. These are such cool cards, by the way. We will read the guidebook to see the more intense meaning of these. Shangyi, I don't know if I'm saying this right. I believe it's a Chinese deity. In letting go, we can soar among the stars. We'll do one more. Hanya? Again, these are like goddesses I do not know the names of. Beware For beneath the mask of rage lies a sorrowful tale. Ooh, that one's hitting hard. Again, I did my therapist about that one later. All right, we're gonna look at the guidebook and see what these lovely ladies have to say. Well, I guess we'll look at Eve. Eve, what are you here to tell us? Man, I hate it when these guidebooks are not in alphabetical order. Like, please. Where is Eve? La, 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 la. I'm like, please, guidebook makers, put it in alphabetical order so it's not hard to find. There's the other two. Yeah, there she is. All right, Eve, awakening the forbidden. Ooh. And let's see. Eve is recognized as the first woman created by God. I'm trying to see what the meaning of the card is. La, 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 la. Her willingness to question, seek understanding, and make choices defies traditional notions of obedience. Hell yeah, girl. We love to see it. Yeah, what is the story of Eve, right? She gains intelligence. She takes a bite of the apple of the tree of knowledge and learns everything. That is Gemini energy. And, you know, of course, she's kind of like villainified because, of course, the first woman would be. And if you know the lore, like Lilith was the actual first woman, or the first like wife of Adam. And, you know, she did the same thing. But it's this curiosity, this thirst for knowledge. And the more knowledge you have, the more curious you get, the more you can make those educated choices, the more you can make the right choices. If you have the power of like knowledge and intellect and clarity behind you, you'll feel much more better about making the choices you need to make. So we love to see it. Love you, Eve. All right, Santa Muerte, where are you? La, la, la. Oh, there she is. All right. Embodies the duality of death, life and death. Many believe that Santa Muerte does not judge but embraces all who approach her with devotion and sincerity. Signifies a time of transition where the veils between the realms of possibility and actualization are thin. Yes, this is a very transitionary period. Again, life and death, those are two sides of the same coin. It's again that energy of duality. What does her card say? Through my sacred presence, miracles manifest and hope is born anew. Absolutely. All right, the next is that Chang'e. Again, don't know if I'm saying that right, but Chang'e was once a beloved woman who lived on Earth. When her husband, Ho Yi, shot down 9 sons, he was rewarded with an elixir of immortality. Chang'e, fearing its misuse, consumed the elixir and ascended to the moon. Good for you, girl. She became the moon goddess. I love that. She marvels at humans on Earth, longing with hope that one day she would be reunited with her true love. The pursuit of transcendence and the price one may pay for it, she has become a symbol of unattainable desires and the longing for reunion. I see. In letting go, we can soar among the stars. I see. We need to let go of the past. Girl, you need to let go of that man. So you can go be in the moon. Like, is that even a choice? But yeah, it's like she has to let go unattainable desires and longing for reunion. If you lost something this year, you lost something, someone, I'm not talking about like death kind of loss. I'm talking about like, you know, toxic person, place, thing. You lost it. You're longing for it. There's no going back after this. I'm so sorry, but it's for the better. I promise. All right. Hanya, don't know if I'm saying that right. The inner torment. Hanya was once a beautiful woman who fell deeply in love with a man. Why would you do that? Why would a man be there? However, consumed by jealousy and resentment, she allowed her emotions to transform herself into a malevolent being. Cautionary reminder of the consequences of unchecked jealousy, anger, and obsession. The card says, beware, for beneath the mask of rage lies a sorrowful tale. I've been in really intense therapy lately. I talk to my therapist about this a lot, and rage, how rage is kind of an emotion that we're taught really not to feel, or anger, we're taught like, oh no, you can't feel anger, that's bad, but we should. Like this deity was changed because she was so angry and she, you know, let it consume her. But if we just feel it, if we just process it, it won't consume us. This full moon in Gemini is going to be a very heavy emotional release also. Like, let yourself feel the things. I think part of shadow work is letting yourself feel emotions that are considered negative. Rage, anger, sadness. We're always told, especially as women, as femmes, like told to not feel, or like, oh, you're too emotional. Like, feel the things, because that's better than repressing them and then they come back to mess you up later on. I think that's very important for the journey as we move forward, because part of the, again, bringing it back to the hero's journey, it's the unification, the mastery of both worlds at the end that allows the hero to complete the journey. You have to have all parts of you come together and be unified. The unknown, the shadow, the upside down, whatever it is, it all has to come together as one. So I will leave you with that, my friends. I will also have a full free yoga class for this full moon in Gemini. And again, if you'd like to do a live workshop, that'll be in my membership. I'm very excited. I'm teaching my full moon yoga for this full moon in Gemini live in person at the Satanic Temple here in Salem for the first time. I'm teaching a class there. I'm very excited. If you're in Salem, maybe come. It's very limited. I don't know if the spots are sold out yet, but I'm very excited about that. I hope you guys have a wonderful, safe last full moon of 2025. It's going to be a big one, my friends. It'll probably look really cool in the sky because, again, it is a super moon. I think that's all I got. So have a wonderful full moon in Gemini, and I will see you guys next time.